Hey guys. Okay, so I think I am live. I wanted to make a title here, but I'm not sure how to do that. I was prompted to do it last time, but I will just put it in the comments then and try and pin this. So today we are going live. Oh, that worked. Okay, great. Today we are going live with Aimee Raupp, who is an amazing fertility acupuncturist and author. I have gotten to work with her in person pre-pandemic, and we are going to talk about some things that you can do at home to improve your fertility for those who are looking to get pregnant. So I'm just going to bring Aimee into the fold right now. Okay, let's see if this works.
Hi! It's
Hi.
so good to see your face. I mean, I see your
So
face
good.
and your
I
phone.
know, but it's so nice to see you. How are you?
But let me see the bump. Let's see it. Can we
Oh,
can we have a shot? Yeah. Hello, precious one.
ugh.
I love it. I love it. You look great.
So um,
Hi.
I was just saying that you were pretty instrumental to me where I was when I found you on my journey. Um, oh, Gabby's here. Hi, Gabby.
Mwah.
Um, and I was really lucky enough. I actually found you through a friend of mine. Her name is Lisa Heyman. She's a girl named the Wellness Necessities. She was
Oh,
over at my
right,
house one
right.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was just over at my house one night. She's like, you know what? You really need to talk to this woman, Aimee. And I was like, oh, it's so weird. I haven't heard of her. Oh my gosh. And like, boom, bada bing, bada boom, we connected. I was so grateful that I found you. And, I feel like it's we're obviously in very strange times
Yeah.
now. It's hard to get in to see people for body work, acupuncture, any of the things that are really one-on-one. I know some things are opening up now
Yeah.
that were, 7, 8 months into this pandemic. But you also focus so heavily on things that you can be doing at home for yourself, mental shifts. You've written the books on it. So Aimee has a book called Yes, You Can Get Pregnant.
Right there.
And so I just wanted to introduce you
Yeah.
to my community here
Okay.
because, I want people to understand that there are things that they can be doing for themselves and that we don't need to just rely on all of the exterior things. And those are things I talk about all the time
Yeah.
and I love to do. But at the end of the day, everything starts with ourselves and the things that we can do on our own to help us have better results, in our exterior lives,
Yeah.
whatever the goals of that may be.
100%.
So without, I'm gonna stop talking now and I'm gonna let you kind of talk about your background and your specialty, and then I'll pull up some of the questions that we got
Yeah.
and we can go into that stuff.
Well, and first I want to say too that I didn't know much about Hannah, but someone had forwarded me the miscarriage piece that you and your husband put out, and it was on Instagram. And I remember thinking, and not knowing you, like how proud I was of you as a human to be that forthcoming with your experience. And I always say in my practice, sharing lifts the shame, and you did that for so many women, and I just thought that was so incredible. And just how you've been so open and sharing about this whole journey, which so much of what I teach is about like living with all of you, like all of the feels, right? And I've been, like you said, an acupuncturist in clinical practice for, it'll be 17 years in December, which is crazy to think that I've been an acupuncturist for that long. I've officially topped my years as a waitress. I've I now am an acupuncturist longer than I was a waitress and graduate student, and proud of that. I've written a couple books. The best-selling book is the one behind me called Yes, You Can Get Pregnant. And I've had the honor of helping women all over the world for, really, I think the last 5 years, achieve and sustain pregnancy, right? So I see a lot of miscarriages. I see a lot of women that are at the end of their ropes, that are hopeless and sad and, a bit broken by the journey, which I know you can relate to. And it sucks, and acupuncture is one awesome thing that you can do hands-on, obviously during a pandemic, more challenging. And Hannah's going to share with you a guide that I created that you can do on your own for acupressure at home. But so many other things that you can do. I always talk about that you have the power to improve your health and optimize your fertility, and to understand that fertility is an extension of health. And health is mental, and it's emotional, it's physical, it's nutritional, right? So, and Chinese medicine, right? Acupuncture is one piece of Chinese medicine. We use herbs, we use lifestyle, we use diet. All of those things come together to optimize your health and your vitality. And then from there, fertility should thrive as an extension of that. And it's just, and that's what I've seen clinically. And it's almost regardless of age and regardless of hormone levels and numbers, that, if you shift back to focusing on the health, and, with someone like you, Hannah knows so much, and she came in, with the right diet and the supplements and all the, the right people in her corner guiding her. And, she has her book and all her information. And so it was, and I treat a lot of women like you, that have so many great resources. And so it's just some tweaks, right? And then I think too, holding space, that's one of, and I can do that really for my girls anywhere, anytime. And even through the books, I think it's just letting you know that you're not alone on this journey, letting you know that there's hope. I do really firmly believe if there's a desire to have a child, and there's a desire, and there's a child that wants to come through to you, right? So a lot of the spiritual work as well. I bring all that together. And yeah, I'm proud to say I've helped thousands of women overcome these challenges, and it's an awesome job. I'm proud to do it.
I mean, you're not only a therapist. I mean, acupuncturist, you're also a therapist. I feel like every time I come into your office, whether I'm crying or laughing or whatever, you really do hold space for all your girls. And that, that takes a lot out of you personally, I'm sure. So the fact that you have the capacity to do that is just, it's beautiful, and we all really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's
so
joy. It's like, the foundation is, I think I always say I have the ability and the luxury of having faith and belief when my clients don't, because I've seen the success, right? I've seen girls in the pain and in the trenches of it come out the other side. So it's not hard for me to hold space. It doesn't feel like effort by any means.
I love that. Okay, so you mentioned that I'm sharing the acupressure guide. So you want to just tell people a little bit about that, and what they can expect, and then we can talk about the fact that I am going to share that with everyone, and then we can go into some of the questions.
Yeah. So it's a guide that I created for women to do acupressure at home. It's called Acupressure for Fertility. And I think it has about 8 to 10 points along with a video. And they're all meant to be very pregnancy safe. So you can do them at any point in your cycle if you're actively trying to conceive. And it's really laid out in there. So how acupuncture or acupressure works is, the way I see it, and mind you, I was a scientist and a biologist before I became an acupuncturist. So I have that scientific brain, and I have to understand it from that specific space, not just the esoteric energetic space. But it just aggravates the body to function better is basically what it does. And then I think from an intentional perspective, you're intentionally caring for yourself. You're intentionally taking this act. So the acupressure guide, my favorite part are the mantras that you say as you're doing each point, and really just driving home that energy to the different spaces on your body that are points that are known to activate and enliven your fertility and open up the flow of energy throughout your body. So acupuncture or acupressure, it's all about the flow of qi and blood. And we say, in Chinese medicine, when you have an abundance of qi and blood, it's easy to create life. It's your body just says, I got enough to make this human. And, you know, because nature's smart and it only wants to create the healthiest of humans. That's how we perpetuate, you know, and that goes back to biology and just, you know, the wisdom of our bodies. And so acupuncture is very good at encouraging the body to wake back up to its wisdom. And then I think with the mantras and the active self-care, you're then making a statement, which I do think for many women, especially in today's society, we're making a statement that says, I come first. I'm going to put myself first. I'm going to put my body first. And this is a priority to me. And I'm going to make space for this in my life right now, instead of this just automatic thing of like, oh, I want a baby and I'm going to get pregnant in September and do, you know, have the baby at the end of the summer and like everything's going to be perfect, you know, and I know that was a big shift for you in your mindset too, of like, there's divine timing that's involved too. There's a miracle that's involved. There's magic that's involved. And your job and what the acupressure, and I think all the other tools, the diet, the lifestyle, the supplements, the mental aspect, that your job is to sit in that preparedness, to sit in that waiting to receive when it is the right time for the child to come through.
Got it. Okay. I mean, I love it. And I'm going to be sharing, like, stay tuned because I'm going to be sharing that guide with you guys. I have like a nice little discount code for everyone. Mm-hmm. So you will get your hands on that soon enough. And then
and anytime, anywhere, that's the best part. So even in a pandemic, you can do this anytime, anywhere, and know that you're doing something for yourself and for your fertility, which is empowering. We all need that level of empowerment instead of handing it over to our numbers and to our doctors and to our statistics.
Exactly. Okay. So I'm going to jump right into it because we have a lot of questions.
Okay.
So first off, what do you suggest doing to improve egg quality?
Well, you can share a link to this too if you want. I do have a course that's running right now. It's called the 7 Ways to Improve the Quality of Your Eggs. I think quick overview, like high level of those 7 ways is nutrition. You got to eat a good nutrient dense diet. You know, I mean, I think you talk about it a lot, you know, if the girls that are following you, you know, eat the way Hannah eats. Lots of protein, lots of fat, lots of good quality cooked vegetables, more cooked than raw. That's how Chinese medicine likes to see it. Good quality supplements, you know, a big thing. And that was something that you and I tweaked out too, was the methyl folate over the folic acid. And I think you even took it one step further with the folinic acid, which is just because Hannah has more than one genetic complication. How about that? We'll say most of us have it, the COMT as well as the MTHFR. Yeah. But not to overcomplicate it, just don't take a prenatal with folic acid. That's all I would say. Just avoid folic acid. 60 to 80% of the population has this MTHFR genetic mutation, and it's compromising your ability to absorb certain nutrients that help your fertility.
Now, I just want to go over that really quickly because I feel like that was such an eye-opening thing for me, because when I got pregnant my first time, I was taking folic acid.
Yes, you were.
And I didn't know that I should be taking folinic. So folinic is the methylated version of folate. Mm-hmm. And when you're looking at prenatals, it's important to have the methylated version of folate. Yeah. So you want to take either folinic
or folate
or
methyl folate.
Yeah, folate. Or methyl folate.
They're kind of the same thing. So it goes like this. It's like on a spectrum, basically, folic acid requires more enzymes in your body to break down and make it into folate, which is what you and baby need. Methyl folate doesn't require those same enzymes, and folinic requires even less of those enzymes. So it's kind of like on a spectrum. Because of the COMT mutation that you have as well, I think methylfolate, it's almost like it goes too fast through your system and it can cause what they call hypermethylation symptoms. But it's complicated. I think just for girls to understand, women to understand that 50 to 80% of the population have at least one copy of the MTHFR, and that you should not be doing anything with folic acid. You should take methylfolate. And there's some prenatals that mix folic acid and methylfolate. I would avoid those as well. Just methylfolate, and no more than really 1 to 1.5 milligrams a day, no more than that. more than that, or grams, sorry, more than that can cause like a real anxiety kind of stimulated feeling. So supplements are super important in that 7 ways, and the right supplements, right? And so, you know, ideally our food would give us everything we need, but it's just so compromised in our society these days. Do you want me to keep going through the 7 ways, and then, because that might answer some of the other questions too.
Okay, perfect.
So let me think. 1 is food. 2 is, well, I think supplements, quality water. Make sure you're drinking enough water, and ideally filtered water. You know, I usually say half your body weight in ounces of water. Start your day off with some protein every morning. I think that was maybe something else that we tweaked with you too, or like adding the collagen peptides to like a coffee drink kind of thing instead of,
which I have still been doing.
Yeah, it's so important in pregnancy, right? I mean, I think I remember at the beginning you were, we talked a lot about your 80 grams of protein a day for pregnancy, which I recommend for fertility as well. But a lot of women skip breakfast, or they're doing like the intermittent fasting. It's really no bueno for fertility and for hormones. So eat upon waking, or at least, you know, what Hannah and I both do is a scoop of collagen peptides in our morning beverage, and that gives you like 10 grams of protein, and then have breakfast a little later, maybe after a workout. Sleep, super duper duper important. 7 to 8 hours every single night, ideally asleep before 11 o'clock. Exercise, movement, you know, 5, if not to 7 days a week, 30 to 45 minutes. Over exercising, no good for fertility either, like too much sweating, too much hot yoga, that kind of thing. You were always great at that, of like, you did your Pilates and your yoga and your strength training. But I do think we tweaked some things too, because there was some high intense exercises in there where we tweaked.
We did. We went back to a bit more low impact.
Yeah. And you felt great that way too. And then joy.
I did.
You know, joy I think is an important one. And I loved the post you did recently about how you were still enjoying your alcohol. You know, you had that girls' weekend. I think the weekend of the transfer, right? Wasn't it? You did the transfer. And
it was the weekend before. Yeah.
The other thing I did with Hannah, which, you know, not everyone has, and right now we don't have this lifestyle, is like, I kind of grounded her, if you will. Not grounded her as in she was in trouble, but like, we're going to fly a little bit less. We're going to be in the air less, because I felt like it was compromising things, and just a little bit of tax on her adrenal system. And I think that was after that first transfer. And then, but the joy factor. So Abraham, I'm a big student of Abraham Hicks, who's a spiritual teacher. And she says, if you do something and feel bad about it, it's a lot worse for you than if you do something and feel good about it. So alcohol, and I think caffeine, and, you know, all the not so great foods fall into this category, that if you're trying to conceive, but you judge yourself for drinking coffee every day, or you judge yourself for having alcohol every day, then you should work on that self-judgment. And if you're going to do it, you enjoy every last lick of it. And then ideally it's organic. And, you know, it's like you drink to get higher on life, not to take the edge off, right? And no more, I think, than 3 drinks a week for women trying to conceive. Coffee, 1 cup of coffee a day, I think is perfectly fine, as long as it's organic and with fat and protein. What else? Sex, even if you're doing fertility treatments, like Hannah was so open about that, but even if you're doing fertility treatments, like, sex is really important, or intimacy, you know, whatever that is. And if you're not partnered, like, then self-intimacy even. And it doesn't have to be, I don't mean like masturbating, you know, I just mean like loving yourself, like appreciating yourself. And for couples going through it, like, discuss the why behind why you want to bring a baby into this family. You know, babies are made out of love, no matter how you make them. There's a million ways to make a baby, I think, but babies are made out of love. And so to get rooted in that why, and, you know, see your family growing. And we did this thing too, where it was one of the days when you were feeling down, and I wanted you to visualize yourself. Like, you know, I started following her on Instagram, and then like seeing all her pictures, and she was everywhere. And I was like, you're in like a bikini, you're looking hot, but you got this baby bump, and that's what I want you to visualize, you know. And then of course, like, the video when you went public was you dancing in a bikini, and I loved that, because it was like, we held on to that visualization for you, of just like, start to just see it in your life. How is it going to fit, you know? And
that was a really important moment for me, I felt like.
I remember, I think we both cried in that,
because I was having a really hard time like visualizing myself pregnant. And Aimee was like, just change the perspective up. Like, you plan out your Instagram posts, like, you know, envision yourself, like, you know, taking a photo with a belly. And I was like, oh my God, like,
and all the things
It
you're going to do
sounds
with that,
so,
like the cute
yeah, it sounds
outfits.
so random, but it was a huge shift for
Yeah.
me.
I did that too with another like influencer type, and it was the best. It was just like, I want you to start looking at the pregnancy, you know, people and their clothing lines and who you're going to start to support, and just like start to own it and envision it. And it does really help. So, and then of course I think stress management is another really important piece. And I
Yeah.
think the joy levels out into there.
Okay, so
Yes.
you mentioned coffee,
Yeah.
and I just want to quickly take someone, when we were talking about that, someone asked a question, and I think it's really relevant also because it's kind of what I was thinking. So is matcha safe during trying to conceive an early pregnancy and throughout pregnancy?
I think to stay at about 80 grams of caffeine a day is perfectly safe. So however you get that caffeine. And I think the biggest things is caffeine is really detrimental to your hormones when taken on an empty stomach and without protein and fat. And so that's the key. And I also think the other layer is any of the studies done, no one's looked at organic coffee, caffeine, teas carry a very high pesticide load. These pesticides are really what's at the root of many fertility challenges. So
Right.
that's the key.
And some matchas do hold higher metals.
Metals, exactly. So
And
you want to think about all these things. Yeah.
right, right. So just to make sure that you're getting like high grade. Something that I did also when I was trying to conceive / early pregnancy, I cut out all of my adaptogens.
Yeah.
It's just that a lot of these adaptogens, I felt like unless I was doing an intense amount of education around how exactly these were going to affect me, I just felt like it was better to avoid than to integrate, because there's these herbs are powerful herbs, and some of them can cause like uterine contractions, and we don't know because we're not well educated and well versed. So that was one thing I also just kind of like cut out in the beginning, because I just felt like better safe than sorry.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. I mean, as an herbalist, I get really heated about adaptogens because I think there's reckless recommendations out there, and then especially with women that are dealing with Hashimoto's, or another autoimmune condition on top of fertility challenges, which is actually really, really common. Which is my third book, is all about autoimmune and fertility because of how common it is. But these adaptogens will really trigger thyroid issues and challenges. Some can really help, but some can really trigger.
Yeah.
And yeah, less is more, and I'm really just about because I'll get women and they're on 30 supplements, and they're just taking everything they read on the internet. I'm going to take this for egg quality. I'm going to take this because it's good for, my stress levels, and this for whatever, melatonin and CoQ10 and acai and all the things. And it's, less is more, and food is the primary medicine. And then also your body's really smart and wise. And so to trust, that simple, it will get you there too. It doesn't have to be, taking every single supplement.
Totally. So you just mentioned autoimmune,
Yes.
which then brings me to not an autoimmune, but PCOS.
Yeah.
So one question is, and I know the answer, but can acupuncture help women with PCOS who are trying to conceive?
Absolutely. So there's great research too. This is my science nerd brain, that shows acupuncture is one of the best ways to induce ovulation. And it's mainly been studied in the PCOS population. Acupuncture is also really good at regulating insulin levels, which obviously is, well, I don't know if that's obvious to everybody, but that is the key issue with PCOS. So absolutely, and again, I come at it, multifaceted. So I'm going to work on diet, and I'm going to work on lifestyle, and then I'm going to absolutely do the acupressure or acupuncture, depending on the state of the pandemic.
Right. Okay, I'm just looking at my little question box. Okay, so another question is, can you see the results? How soon do you see results in terms of acupuncture? And I like to think, and you can tell me, because that's the question, is like, how quickly can you see results? So for me, when I do acupuncture, I do see immediate results, just immediately feeling more grounded, more less stressed, less worried, like a kind of all of that stuff kind of melts away immediately. But I have to say, acupuncture is one of those things where it's like it's a constant fine tune up
Yeah.
for your body.
Yeah.
So when the world was able to allow you to have these, weekly appointments, acupuncture was that for me, because it was a fine tune up to help me alleviate the week's worth of buildup that I was experiencing, that everyone experiences. Every day is a freaking roller coaster in this life we live.
Yeah.
And acupuncture was kind of a saving grace for me. It was a mix between my meditation and my body work.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure you maybe have a similar answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, consistency and frequency. I do say that, not every woman, even without, COVID, can afford it or can, fit it into their life on a weekly basis. But even if you come once a month or every other week around ovulation, and then typically in the luteal phase, that's when I really like to do it. And I will say, so there's a couple things. I mean, typically when someone comes for acupuncture, especially if they're working with me, but there's many acupuncturists that work like this, we come at it with the whole thing of it's, the acupressure that you can do at home. There's other modalities than the diet and the supplements and maybe herbs. And if you do all the things, your body does get cleaner on an energetic level and things move more freely and easily, that the disruptions of life disrupt your chi less, right? So you kind of stay more stable. So you need less manipulation with the needles, because you're living the lifestyle. So if you're doing that, then it's like in a 3 to 6 month time frame, you usually see the most radical changes. But similar, I get acupuncture kind of every other week or so. I'm back at it now, which is nice, but I feel awesome. I always feel like someone hits my reset button, and then I'll do acupressure if I need to in the downtime or the off time. But typically, like for a woman to see changes in her cycle, it's about 3 menstrual cycles where we really start to see the shifts happening. So when we're talking about fertility, 3 menstrual cycles. And I also think that's where the diet and lifestyle also, kick in too, because the process of folliculogenesis, so that egg that you're about to ovulate now was recruited 100 days ago, and its growth and maturity is determined by the internal environment in which it develops. And so the diet and the lifestyle and all that 100 days is about 3 months where you'll see the improvement in the egg quality as well, and in sperm.
Right. Okay, so that's a perfect segue into this next question, which is, when is the best time to start acupuncture while undergoing fertility treatments? I would say pre-fertility
ideally,
treatment.
like that's how Hannah was. Hannah came in and she was just like, this is the plan, this is when we're going to do it. Not everybody has that time or knows, like some of you might be in the middle of a treatment right now and now you want to add in acupuncture. I'd say at any point is great. There's also awesome research to show acupuncture before and after fertility, a transfer, IVF transfer, almost quadruples the success, 40% higher success rate in women who get acupuncture pre and post transfer for IVF. So even if you just do that, that's great. I don't love that. I like to get a little more, time with my clients, but that works too. And so wherever you can fit it in, and I think it's one of those things of like right now, the world is so uncertain. There's so many, I don't want to put pressure on anybody. I think you're all doing great and you continue to do the best you can do. If you can layer this in on some level, I think it's important and would be helpful. And then it's also, you got another cheerleader in your corner. That's really, I think, an important part of how I see my job. Yeah.
If you cannot get to acupuncture around your transfer, are there things that you can do at home to help yourself have a successful transfer besides having a glass of wine and chilling out?
Yeah, I mean, laugh, watch a funny movie. You know, I have a bunch of steps. I can probably read them if I can pull it up real fast. Of keeping the uterus warm, we say in Chinese medicine, which is really important during like that 2 week wait and even post transfer. So you
Drinking bone broth.
yeah, bone broth, of course. I'm a big fan of bone broth, but not getting too cold. Don't walk around in bare feet on like cold tile floor. You know, basically staying warm and cozy. And to think about that, your uterus is this vessel. And you want it to be open and receiving, right? So keep warm, don't swim during your menstrual period, dry your hair after showering, try not to drink cold drinks, right? So cold drinks, water, cold water, frozen food, those are things too. And then I would also recommend in the acupressure guide, there's a lot of great points in there too that you could do to just, you know, create that space. I think meditation, visualization, super duper powerful. You know, laughter is so important too. So we say there's a secret vessel in Chinese medicine that connects the heart to the uterus, and we call the uterus the child's palace. That's the literal translation for the word uterus. And if the vessel is open between the heart and the uterus, it allows like the light of the heavens and the spiritual energy to shine in and hold this life, to give it space. And so laughter
Beautiful.
is one of the best ways to open up that vessel. And so to think about that too of, I know the 2 week wait is so stressful, and especially if you've just done IVF, you're so invested on so many levels. But try to have fun and then use that time too to visualize and to trust in the divine timing. Talk to the baby. I think the spirit baby work is so powerful. Get that book, Spirit Babies, read it. You know, there's so many great pieces of information out there around this topic.
A visual that I did that I found very comforting during that 2 week wait, which sounds a little crazy, but I basically visualized this embryo traveling and then basically finding this like very like beautiful like pink velvety room.
Mm-hmm.
And in that pink velvety room was this like gorgeous bed, and the bed was like this beautiful oyster like clamshell, and then like the embryo was like the pearl, and it would like go around the room until it finally got comfortable in the bed. And it was like this beautiful pink velvet clam room, and I was like, I don't know where this is coming from,
But it worked.
but it worked. And I thought about that almost every single night before I went to bed. Or any moment that I was, you know, that doubt was creeping in, I would just go back to that positive visualization.
Yeah, and I think that's it too. Of like, you just touched upon something important. You don't try to force yourself to be without the doubt. Like, you have the fears.
Yeah.
Like for you, it was like, and we talked about that too, of like, yeah, you had a miscarriage. I mean, that sucks. And you've been at this and it's hard and you want this more than anything else. And like, you know, have a good cry about that though too, right? Like, because joy opens up that vessel, but also feeling all the feels really opens up that vessel. Trying to squash the fear and the anxiety is not great for your health on any level or your fertility. So feel it, you know, but whatever you can do to get back to that calm centering space. And I you know, I've uterine mantras as well in my book. Yes, you can get pregnant. And I love that idea of like, you've created this hospitable, beautiful palace and you're welcoming to this child, and you know, and here's all the reasons why, and we can't wait to do this with you, and you're, you know, and this is the part of life I can't wait to share with you. And you know, just really get on that momentum of not if but when, you know, and that we're in this together, and just super welcoming and open, even if you're scared, you know, like you have like everybody, there's a lot of magic that goes on, and it's overwhelming when you know all the details of the science, and it's amazing that anybody gets pregnant, but you know, it's just that thing of like, just be in that space of anticipation and excitement for what's next, and that you are worthy of all you desire. You truly are, and
Yeah.
including this child.
Okay, so what are like 3 tips
Yeah.
that are not so common when trying to conceive?
3 tips not so common when trying to conceive. Well, I think we just touched upon like one of them about feeling all the feels, you know.
Yeah, I would agree.
I gave a talk the other night in a group, and a woman is newly pregnant after a handful of miscarriages, and it was like, what can I do to make this stick, you know? And I just kind of zeroed in on her, and I was like, I want you to admit to yourself that you're scared right now, you know, and that's okay. Like, be okay
Yeah,
with all the feelings.
yeah.
I also think another really one, we put it up on Instagram, I don't know, a couple weeks ago, of like, you can be imperfect and still receive this child. I think a lot of women get caught, and I can be at fault for that too, 100% with all my recommendations, get caught in like, did I do all the things? Am I taking enough vitamin D? How much methylfolate? And like, did I get all my protein in? And, you know, am I doing all the things? Did I do the acupuncture? Did I not do the acupuncture? You know, that like, you're safe, you're taken care of, you're being guided, that you can be imperfect and still conceive, you know. So even if whatever helps you guys, like an 80-20 rule, 70-30 rule, you know, where and that's why I especially loved your post about like how you took that girl's weekend, and it was like, yeah, you know, but then you also had everybody do a prayer over your belly, and, you know, just this thing. And I think that would be the last one, is that joy factor of, or getting
Hmm.
behind the why. I think a lot of, we all get caught on it of, I just want that child, you know, I just want that positive pregnancy test, and I just want that child. And you've lost touch with, what is the why do you want to grow your family? What is the purpose? And what does motherhood mean to you? What is that going to look like in your life? What is that why? You know, so
Hmm.
to get rooted in that. And that, I think that does translate, when you're really rooted in that why, it does translate to, you just treat the vessel better. You do the things, you eat the certain way, you take the supplements, you get the sleep, you know, you surround yourself with the people that feel good, and you avoid the ones that feel like too much pressure, or, you know. So just getting back into that why of why me, why this vessel, and why do I want to be a mother? Why do I want to bring this child through?
I also will say that something I did that I really liked, and I'm not like a huge, I mean, I'm spiritual, but I'm not like very esoteric or anything, but I did call on my angels
Yes, yes.
often. And that felt really good. And I felt like even throughout my pregnancy and now, there's little things that happen that are, I think, are signs. Like
Yeah.
if there's, you know, a hummingbird that comes and sits with me, I
Mm-hmm.
take that as a moment that to
100%.
say, maybe that's, you know, one of my angels. Or every time I see a sunflower, I think of my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
And I have these little mental connections with people who I've lost or that I don't even know, who I think, you know, have my back. And
100%.
that's been really nice. And sometimes I'll be sitting on the toilet and the lights will flicker and I'm
Yes.
like, okay, I see you. Thank you.
That's it. I mean, I don't know if Gabby's still on, but, you know, she was on, and that's like a big thing that she talks about, is like, ask for this sign and then receive it, you know. And another thing Abraham says is, if you think it's a sign, then it's a sign. You don't have to like read too much into it. Like, the lights flicker and you thought that was a sign, and that's your freaking sign. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it is that piece. So it's like, there's so many things we can do, and there's so much that the research shows us, and there's a lot we can do to balance hormones and improve egg quality and regulate cycles and get the best IVF outcomes. And we know all that. And I think so many women check all those boxes and do it. And then there's this piece that's magic and divinity and miraculous. And we have to trust that, like, there's a bigger, I think there's a bigger power going on here. And, you know, trust the guidance from all the spaces, and open up
Yeah.
enough to see that and feel it, you know, because I think it's scary sometimes to say that you're not fully in control or fully in the driver's seat. That's
Yeah.
scary to own and admit. And so, yeah, the divinity piece is, I think, super important. And however you get there, now, you don't have to be a super spiritual person to get there, but to trust you know, the Spirit Baby conversation, you know, talks about a lot of different things, but one of them is that, you know, the baby has a decision in this process too. So
Yeah.
your baby came through when it was the exact right time for you guys. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like, and you know that now. It's easy to know it when you're in it, you know, and after the fact, but to trust in that, you know, and to look at other things in your life that came together exactly at the right time, even though it felt at the wrong time, or, you know, you were impatient for it. And so trust is a huge piece. But if you have the desire, you know, spiritually, I firmly believe there's a baby that wants to come through, and it's just about the alignment then.
And when you say trust, I just want like people to know that, like, for me, that was a really big challenge for me. That was a huge challenge for me. And it was, you know, I'm a bit of a control freak, and I had timing and all these things, and I had to let go, and I really had to trust. And that, it wasn't just something like that took me 3 weeks to do and then I did it. It's something that I still struggle today with.
And you should.
And it's just one of those things. It's like you really, you know, that's a big part of the puzzle that you really, it's constant work, but it's really so necessary.
Yeah. And I think to call people into your corner who, you know, you can almost get like, you know, for Hannah, it would be like, oh, I'm going to text Aimee and ask her, like, is this the right supplement? Should I be doing this? Like, instead of you doing all the research, you doing, like, that's so much pressure on you, like, and trust too, that your guides, you know, if you believe in that, have brought you to the right people, that there was divinity and like someone mentioning my name to Hannah, and like this all coming to fruition the way it did. Right. So, but call in support. Don't try to do this all on your own. And I mean, that's another reason why, you know, I loved you the moment I saw you, you know, for the first time in that video when you shared about the miscarriage, because I was like, this is a, you know, you're a good human, you know, and that you just helped so many people when you shared that story. So
thank you. Well, you are an amazing human and share so much with all of us. If you don't already follow Aimee, please do. Join her Facebook community. It's really amazing. Join her newsletter. I look forward to them every week. I will be sharing after this live. I will save this live and put it on my feed. And afterwards, I will be sharing the acupressure document, buy her books, listen to her meditations.
Yeah,
I mean,
listen to them all the time. I was like, you're not sick of my
she
voice?
does it all.
She's like, I love your voice.
Yeah, I love your voice. It's so soothing. Honestly, you know, Aimee is one of these people who does it all. And if you're not able to see her in person, that is okay. You have so many other resources for everyone that they can, you know, take and do at home. And so, you know, that's really crucial during this time when we feel like, you know, so when I'm sure so many people feel stalled in their IVF process, or that they don't have access to things during their, you know, trying to conceive journeys. So really take it into your own hands, follow Aimee's lead, and trust.
Yeah, and trust.
Aimee, you were amazing. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me. I love it. And I can't wait. Hopefully I get to see that belly before the baby comes
I know.
out.
I hope so too. I'm going to be texting you after this so that we can schedule something.
Okay. All right. Thank you for having me.
Love you.
Love
of
you
course.
Bye.
Of course. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.